Hey everyone, my name's Teresa. I'm one of the surrogates for Brilliant Beginnings. I'm 36, I've got 2 children of my own and I've had twins as a surrogate, and I'm just about to start on my second journey, hopefully with a new couple through Brilliant Beginnings as well. Come and join us. So I thought about surrogacy when a while ago now, my brother and his wife, who I'm very close with, they were struggling to get pregnant. She had previously, when she was much younger, she'd had cancerous cells found in her cervix and had some treatments that we knew that it was going to make it difficult for her to conceive, and it wasn't going very well. They'd had a round of IVF and it had failed, and that was their one free go for the area that they lived in. So I'd said to them, if they ever get to that point and they're thinking of surrogacy, that I would help them, which they were quite grateful for. But then her mum came forward and offered to pay for them to have a round of IVF, so they went with that, and she got pregnant with my nephew, who is now 4, and then 6 months after he was born she fell pregnant naturally, and so I've got a niece and a nephew now that are very close in age. And that just kind of stuck with me. So in 2014, I think, 2015, it had been on my mind for a bit that actually surrogacy sounded like something that I could do, and I'd always thought that I would do something like fostering or adopting or something like that, or donating my eggs, something to help somebody. So I started looking into it, and I looked at all of the surrogacy agencies, tried to gather as much information about the different types of surrogacy, what it is like to be a surrogate, how do you go about getting into it, and then I went to my partner and said, I'm doing this, I'm thinking about doing this. During that research that I did before I told my partner, I had looked at all of the 3 agencies that were in the UK at the time, and I'd made contact with all of them, so I'd sent the same basic email saying, look, this is something I'm thinking of doing, can you give me some more information about how it would work? But they were very dismissive. They directed me to look at stuff online, which I'd already done, but Brilliant Beginnings was the absolute opposite. She came back to me very, very quickly via email, so she wasn't pushy. She responded in the way that I had initially made contact. What can we do for you? What information would you like? Would you like to have a chat? What are your questions? Left it very much up to me as well, so there wasn't any pressure to book in a telephone conversation or to give an immediate response or anything like that. But that's what I wanted. I wanted somebody to sort of help lead me with, well, what questions do I have and what kind of process am I looking at, and having that human connection, and that just sealed it for me. I imagined that it would be quicker. I imagined that it would be about the amount of time it takes me to carry a baby. I was a bit naive about actually some of the stuff that has to come before and after you deliver a baby as well. But I think I imagined it to be a really positive experience, helping somebody that needed help, having that link with people as well, and being able to sort of bring joy to somebody's life. I don't think I had any real concerns with anything, and there was certainly nothing that came up, especially in the vetting process and the matching process, that caused me any alarm or queries or anything. But there was always lots of information out there, and they were always talking to us as well about what's going on in the office, and the network of surrogates that they were trying to build, and how widespread they were, and actually how some of them were quite local, who I've become friendly with, and the different types of journeys that people were having as well. And that's quite nice, because it's a bit of a unique situation. It's very easy to think, nobody else could understand this, I'm never going to meet anybody that's going to do something like this. People might turn around and say, oh, but that would be interesting to do, but not necessarily for them. And so that was really, really nice. It was, just always lots of information. I always felt like I was privy to changes in regulations that were coming up as well, which I would never have been aware of had I not been part of the process. When you want to talk about if you're having a crap day, or if there was anything that was less than ideal that happened during a pregnancy or delivery, it is very different talking to somebody about it or talking to somebody that genuinely understands what you're talking about because they've lived it, and that does make a big difference. So it's good to have a company like Brilliant Beginnings do the matching process, because it takes the pressure off the surrogate to pick people, but also all of the intended parents are in the same situation. They don't know who they're being considered for a match. All we know is that it's going to be the best match that Brilliant Beginnings can make, and I think that is very good for people as well. It's already a fairly emotional process to go through, to want a child so badly anyway is quite an emotional thing. So having people put in that legwork and matching you on things that really matter as well, it's very easy to possibly meet up socially and think, oh yeah, well, we had a laugh and we like the same movies or we do the same kind of hobbies. That's not the same thing though as having the same kind of values with how you raise children or how you live your lives and what you would want to see for a future child. So having someone like the team at Brilliant Beginnings do that, hands down, was the best for us. I suppose part of that was kind of embedded in the vetting process, but I never felt like we were being vetted. They felt like very normal conversations. There was a lot of emphasis put on the fact that they wanted to do a good match, and whether that took weeks or months, it was about quality, not speed. So it felt very normal to have those kinds of conversations, and they asked about everything. Are there any sexual preferences that you would not want to work with? Are there any religions? How do you feel about smokers versus people that like an occasional drink? Are there any other lifestyle habits that particularly suited us or didn't suit us? We had all of those conversations, and that was good because it made me and Jamie think about that. It would have been very easy for me to turn around and say, well, I'll work with a gay couple, I'll work with two guys, and not think about, well, how do I feel about people that smoke in the house where children are potentially going to live? How do I feel about people that work very, very long hours and maybe travel all over the place? I wouldn't necessarily have considered that, but the matching process did help to get all of those bits out and make us think really, really clearly about it. Yeah, I'm not a fan of choosing. I feel like it's got the potential to be a bit contrived. I think it's a bit unfair personally on the side of the intended parents as well, because they're pinning all of their hopes on being picked by this small select group of women, and that's a very hard thing to go through, and I could imagine that would emotionally take its toll on people. So I knew that Gemma had a couple in mind for us to match us with, because she kept then starting to ask the same questions. Are you sure you want to work with a same-sex couple? Are you sure you have no hang-ups or any questions or queries about what that would mean? And so we did click that something was coming and that they had someone in mind. Then they told us about Dan and Rich and said, yep, there is a couple, and we know that they had told Dan and Rich at a similar time that we think that we've got a match for you. From there, if my memory is correct, they send us some pictures and they send us a profile about the intended parents, who the guys were, the kind of jobs that they did, where they lived, sort of just, general stuff about what they wanted from a surrogacy journey. And that was quite good as well, because then that helped us to look over and go, actually, they kind of want the same things, and got us thinking about whether that was a good match. We wrote letters to each other as well, so you write an initial letter not knowing who the intended parents or the surrogates are, and you write a letter to them, and you get to say a bit more about yourself than what a profile can give you about our lives, about our children, what kind of things that we like to do, but also what we would really want from a surrogacy journey as well, from a more personal perspective. So the team did that, so they let us each know, the other partners are willing to go ahead. And then we had a first date, So we met up and we went for a lunch together. We went for a Sunday lunch, and that restaurant now, because it is halfway between our houses, that's kind of where we go for special occasions. So Christmas meals, we meet up on like the anniversary of our first date. We met up when the babies were born, and that we always go there. That's our kind of special place to go to. So we went and we had a first date and we met in person, and we did that without our children with us. So it was adults only, and that gave us the chance to have a chat and to speak more openly. And in that meeting we spoke about so many other things that were not related to the surrogacy. You know, we asked questions about our families, our extended families, how do our friends feel about this, what kind of work do we do. This is where those coincidences and those similarities that brilliant beginners couldn't have known. From the very beginning, it always felt it makes more sense for me to help a same-sex couple that are two guys, because I think of everybody, they're going to have the least chance of building a family, and that makes sense. That's not to say that I wouldn't help anybody else, but when I thought about it and when I was first asked the question, well, what kind of couple would you work with, that was the first thing that came to my mind. Yeah, and it has been worth it, definitely. They were kind of along for the ride, so they knew when treatment started, they knew at what stage we were planning for transfers, and when we were going to be doing tests to see if the pregnancy had been successful. So they were, yeah, and again, just sort of quietly supportive in the background, checking in, you know, how are you doing with stuff? Were the meds affecting me? Was I taking it okay? You know, just asking nice, supportive, friendly questions at the time, which was really good as well, because again, some people don't like to ask, you know, are you giving yourself injections every day, and what's that like? We're a bit British for all of that, and people at work as well. I was in a bit of a weird situation where I'd started the surrogacy with one college. I left that college and went on to another college whilst finishing the treatment before falling pregnant. So I had a change of teams as well. When you don't really know people that well, they don't want to pry. Yeah, people don't want to pry. So I wasn't having that many conversations outside of, you know, myself and Jamie and some of my siblings. So it was nice to have other people interested in checking in to make sure that I was okay. Helen helped to facilitate that, and she kind of kick-started off. I remember her saying, you know, well, why don't you start T and tell us a little bit about yourself, and the same with the guys, and they were very good at kind of bringing in some of the topics and discussion points that really needed to be had in those early stages before we turned around and said, okay, yeah, let's meet or let's go ahead. And so that was really, really good, because I don't know, we might have got to those conversations at other stages. There were opportunities that came up later on to talk about some stuff, but it was good to have that clarity from the beginning and to be having them early on before we got too attached to each other or too invested in the match. If I remember rightly, we spoke to our children quite early on. I think initially because as well, I'm the kind of person that once I've decided to do something, I just want to get on and do it. And also I didn't really appreciate actually how long the process would take. So I think we spoke to them about it quite early on. We started with our two daughters that we have together. They were much younger, but the conversations kind of revolved around the fact of, you know, how lucky are we that we have the family that we have. We're a very loving, close family. Wouldn't it be nice if other people could have families like that, and if we could help people to be able to have children to love the way that we love you, which Ivy really, really enjoyed. Derry was a bit young and didn't appreciate it. She just says yes because Derry says yes to everything. And then before we spoke to Jamie's older daughter, we spoke to his ex-wife and made sure that she was clear about, this is what we were doing, but this is the type of surrogacy it was. It wasn't my embryo. This is not me giving my child to somebody. There is no biological link or anything like that, so that there was then no confusion for Jamie's older daughter about where did this child fit into our lives, was this an addition to the family, you know, what did it mean for her place in our family as well, and how she understood it. So we kind of went about it that way before we spoke to the older daughter, but they were really, really good about it. They were really, they were really excited. They were very nice, sending little gifts through, which I don't ever expect. Like I say, I don't sort of handle people gushing over me and stuff like that, and so to randomly have little things turn up on my doorstep that I hadn't expected was really, really nice, just to know that they were thinking about me. And I think if it hadn't have been for the support from Brilliant Beginnings and the knowledge that they have about surrogacy law, you know, processes and how to work with NHS trusts and how to work with hospitals, we probably would have been lost. What have I enjoyed the most? I do enjoy being pregnant most of the time. I do enjoy it. I think being able to see how excited the guys were throughout the pregnancy, that was really, really nice. And I've got very fond memories of that, of how excited they were. You know, when they saw the heartbeats for the first time, when they found out the genders of the twins as well, because they have one of each. So finding that out and having conversations about, you know, how do you care for a little girl, which was brand new to them, but also seeing how they are now as a little family, and seeing how these little people are growing up. And words of encouragement or parting words for a surrogate. Like I say, embrace it. It's not going to be smooth sailing. You might have a failed cycle, you might have to change meds, you know, if you don't agree with one particular type, but it's part of the journey, and it's all being done for the greater good. The end goal is to get that baby or those babies to that family, and you've got to remember that the support network is there. It's okay to turn around and say that a day is a bad day, because it's not always going to be a bad day, and there are so many more good days to come.